Kia ora koutou, here we are back again, and we've got, I'm going to reopen the Zombie Army 4 trailer. Again, this is the session that I started with that only has the memory locations and the tracks. So this one, I'm going to start off by saving it as DT Dialogue Edit. DT Dialogue Edit. Yep. So this is the idea, is that I've decided that I'm going to lay out the dialogue for everything. So I've already done the tracks. We've got June, the main character, radio voice that comes in about halfway through. Zombie walkers, various zombie walkers, and a zombie bomber that runs along screaming. A zombie sniper that seems mostly to laugh. And I've recently just thought to myself, well, this may be an effect, because I've got a cool little box that used to be in a bag of laughs, a kind of weird little novelty toy, and I think it'll be really cool. And the shark, I mean, technically it's dialogue, but I'm not going to be doing it, so I'm thinking these two I might turn into effects because I'm not speaking them, so technically they're not dialogue. No voice acting required. I may do the zombie sniper as a actual thing, but it doesn't matter at this stage anyway. We can move it around. Tracks can be moved into folders very, very easily. So here are my tracks. What I'm going to do, if I'm going and laying out dialogue, generally you want it to be pretty close. So if it's synchronized, you're going to have to zoom in on the character and seeing their mouth move and making a clip group start exactly where you think the words should start. This is not super necessary. If you're out by a couple of frames, it doesn't matter. When you're actually doing the words and getting the read correct, that's when you're going to want to do it, and you want your actor to get the cadence. So what happens in when you're doing ADR in the real world is there'll be a timing beep so that the actor knows exactly when they have to speak. And they'll have watched it through, maybe loop around the dialogue line a couple of times, listening to the production sound, and they'll start repeating it and getting a feeling for it as it loops around, and then perform it. So it's lined up pretty well. So you shouldn't have to sync too much. But it doesn't hurt to know how to put these things in exactly the right place, because then you're jumping to exactly where you want it to be. And if you're using pre-roll, it'll start recording over top of your clips in exactly the right places. Good. So, without any further ado, I'll just sort of jump in. A couple of things you might want to check before you set up. Obviously, your main counter you're going to want to be in time code, because time code is in hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. You're also going to want your grid to be, I'm going to follow main time scale and make sure that it is set to frames. And similarly, my nudge is going to be set to frames as well, because I want to be able to move my selections around, move clips around, and it's pretty much once you've done your session, you should have those things set up exactly as they are. If I'm dragging objects around, if it's snapping from frame to frame, that's pretty useful to me. Same with selection. So, keeping frame accurate. The first thing to do is to watch this video. And what I'm going to do is I'm pretty much going to go through and say, look for June. Only when she's talking. I'm going to do those parts, and then I'm going to go through and do the radio voice, which is easy because it's a narrator. It doesn't have to be synced. And then I'll go through and do the zombie walker, which is generally just sort of or brains or something like that. I haven't quite decided yet. But general zombie-ish noises. The bomber has a very scary, just a hysterical scream, just yelling as they run at you with the explosives strapped to them. And as I said before, the zombie sniper's a laugher. So I'm just going to start off with June, where I'm going to have a voice actor do June's parts. So I need to have it all sussed out. So first of all, I'm going to get into the ballpark. I want to set up my playback so that the insertion follows playback. When I stop, the cursor is going to be where I stop.
Suicide attack!
Alright, so there's our first bit of dialogue from June, Suicided Down. Now, because I put that button in, remember it's the N key, insertion follows playback, the cursor has inserted itself exactly where I stopped. So I'm in the ballpark. I can actually go back here, play.
Suicided. Suicided.
So if I really want to get frame accurate, I could use the scrubber tool, and as I go across this track, I could find... So around here, that's the start of the S. Restore last selection, Option Command Z, and if I use the colon key I can go down through the tracks. So right here I've got June. Now I'm going to use, I guess the first way I want to do it, just a little shift click. So I'm creating a selection, and this is where the nudge can come in pretty handy. Now, if I wasn't happy with where my selection started, I could use the plus or minus key on the numeric keypad, or the comma and full stop key if I'm using keyboard focus, keyboard edit focus, to move my selection around. So if you've got a selection, you can use nudge. Plus or minus I use on the numeric keypad usually, or if I'm on a laptop, comma to go left and full stop to go right. But there are other command keys you can use, or modifier keys, to change the behavior, which is pretty useful. What I want to do in this sense is make the end of the selection nudge. So I'm going to go frame by frame across the end of the selection. So if I hold Shift Command, which is it's Shift to add to selection, and Command to do it to the end of the selection, then I add. So Shift Command plus on the numeric keypad is, as you can see, adding, and minus takes it away from the end. So I can actually expand and contract my selection. Now there's no visual cue here for me to go suicided down. So this is not going to be particularly useful, but it's super useful when you're doing effects. So I thought I'd just talk about it now since I'm going to nudge. So I'm just going to arbitrarily use that to extend my selection, and I'm going to turn this insertion follows playback off so that I can see if my selection encompasses the whole line.
Suicided.
Nope. And I could just shift click.
Suicided. Suicided.
There is actually a visible cue, because if you watch it, it says suicided down and then fires.
Suicided. Suicided. Suicided.
It's actually suicided down, so right on the down is the key command. So if I started back here and used my Shift Command plus, if I watch the shotgun, that bang is down. So that is probably suicided down.
Suicided. Suicided. Suicided.
Cool. Now I can just make a clip group. Remember, it's Option Command G, and I like to put the dialogue in it. So if I say suicided down, unless it's a really long paragraph, this just means if I've got an artist recording it, they can look at the script, and if they've got a screen in front of them, when it comes up and I'm recording, they can suicide down, so they can see exactly how long their pacing and everything is, get used to it as markers, all sorts of useful things. But that just comes down to how you want to do it. Or how your workflow goes. So that's my first bit of dialogue there, suicided down. Now she goes, wreck. Yep. So remember, I've got nudge. I can just nudge the selection and then play. Make a little shift click. It's only a little word. A little bit more. I'm probably going to get my voice artist to do something else. Maybe go or some sort of sound of a hammer swinging. But so I might put that in there. So I'll make my group. and make it a hng will do for me. I could put a little bracket and say grunt, something like that.
But to be sure.
Ah, now there's my radio voice. Right there. And remember, if I zoom in, I've got my grid. So I could go down to this, just go here. And because this is a long sentence, I might just call this narrator. So that's my narrator where it starts, and when I get to the end of it, I can just scoot along.
At least one more charge. At least one more charge. Find another generator.
So it goes to here. Yep, and remember, you can use the colon to come down, and I could shift click back here and shift option tab back to my existing clip, and in fact clip shift grab on that so I've got the whole thing, and then just make a new one, or I could extend it out with the trimmer, whichever way you want to do it. Yeah, so I'm just going to call this narrator, or I could call it voiceover or whatever. So that one's done because that's the only time it happens in the clip. So I don't think Director June said anything here.
Another generator.
Okay, so there's an as injury occurs. Okay, just see here the top of it cut off, so I'll nudge back one frame. And remember, I can use the up cursor. Maybe Shift Command plus plus, just to extend my my end out a little bit. Cool. Make a group. Name it. Ugh. Yep. Being injured. Okay, from there. Ah, now there was a little sound of being healed. Ah. Maybe back one, so I'm just nudging back. Make my group. I might trim it out a little bit. And I'll say this is so it's a more I'm healed.
Shoot the explosives!
Okay, so shoot the explosives. I'll just nudge back. Find my start point. Okay. Yep, so there's my selection. Make a clip group. I was just nudging around to find the right place, and then I used the up cursor to make the selection. But you could also use the same thing we did up in when I was on the previous video where I was doing the music, where you use a shift click to drag it around, especially if there's visual cues. So this one is shoot the explosives.
Shoot the explosives!
Could shorten that just slightly.
Shoot the explosives!
Okay, so here's we've got running up and stabbing a zombie. Got my selection here. Remember, I can just shift click and make a keep shift clicking. That's probably good enough. Make a group. Again, this is a hng. I'm trying to spell that one day. So I just hit the down cursor as I was going through there, just to put my cursor in place. Just back it up a bit.
I got him!
Yep, I got him.
I got him! 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 I got him!
Cool. And I'll just make a group and call it I got him, or I got it. It's a zombie. I get a bit of freedom to change the dialogue as I like. So that's June's part. There is one part, there's a zombie that in close-up that explodes. Now, in the other parts of the game, she says disgusting. So I might add that in as well. And so I'll just go through and do the same process. As you can imagine, with the zombie walkers, there's going to be a lot as I go through. So as soon as I can see zombies, I'm going to be putting in placeholders. So pretty much here, if I nudge through, you can see there's some zombies just over here underneath the shark in the water. And they're probably going to be going brains or whatever, and just in the background. So if I want really good detail and depth in my picture, I'll make sure everything I can see that is making a sound is making a sound, even if it's a low level in the background. So as I nudge through frame by frame here, I can see behind June, there's my two zombies there. Wandering they're just zombieing around in the water. And then June pulls up the shotgun. There's 3 of them, so I'll do 3 tracks. Not all going continuously, but just sort of, I'll put some a track in where I want them to be doing it. And then at this point, June shoots the trap switch, which sets off this zombie shark, which flails around in the water, splashing, roaring, and eating those zombies. So you get the idea. You can go through, and I'm going to go through and do that and populate all of these tracks, and we'll see that at the end. DT dialogue edit. The next one I'll do is the effects, and it's going to be similar. So pretty much frame accuracy. I'm going to be using nudging. I'm going to be using the shift command nudge to extend the end of a selection. If I want to extend the start of a selection, by the way, so let's say I've got a selection here, and if I want to shift the end, it's shift command, and you can see I'll zoom right in so you can see it. Zoom out one. So if I shift command nudge, I'm adding a frame to the end of my selection. If I shift option nudge, I'm taking a frame away from the start, and if I shift option minus on the numeric keypad, I'm adding to the start. So that's one thing to be aware of. So if I've got a small selection like this, if I want to move the end of the selection, it's shift command, and then plus adds to it, and minus takes away from it. So it's making it plus, making it bigger, minus, making it smaller. If I want to affect the start of the selection, I'm holding shift and option for the start, and then plus moves it to the right and minus to the left. So that behavior doesn't change. Plus is always moving to the right, minus is moving to the left. And if I change to shift option, plus moves to the right, minus to the left. Yep. You'll see when you do it anyway, it's not something you can't undo. But that being able to adjust your nudge frame by frame is super handy when you get down to, say, where does an explosion start and exactly where does it stop. Don't forget to save when you've done this, and the last video, after I've done a bit of an effects video, I'll show you how to import them all into one master session. See you in the next video.